Hi there, this is Kevin. I'm the owner of PDX Underground, and this is Just Downside It.
I like it, I love it, I hate it, I do it to myself. Every time I want it, I need it, I have it, I waste it.
Hi there, Kevin here again, and I just want to talk to you about what Just Downside It is. This is going to be our new video series, and we're going to talk about issues in the RC community, cool things that are happening. We're going to do interviews of people that are interesting in the hobby itself and just different ways we can help to grow the hobby. So this is my way of giving back to the community that's been so cool and good to me, owning PDX RC Underground. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be right back. All right, episode 1 of Just Downside It. This one, we're going to talk about a few things. The first thing I want to talk about is sandbagging, dropping down, whatever you want to call it. It's when you are in a certain class and then a big event comes or a series comes and you drop down to the lower class to try and win an award or do a little better than you probably should. And let me explain something to you about what happens when you do that to the actual program. Let's say you're running 75 stock, okay? And you're like mid-pack guy, and then you see who's coming to a big race, and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a really hard time making the A main at this. So I'm gonna drop down to 21.5, where I should be able to make the A main, possibly podium at this event. So what that does to an actual program, like my program here, is the guys that have been coming in, like 21.5 is kind of a beginner class. It's the people that come in, they've gone through novice and they go to 21.5. Those people are working hard at getting better at racing. So when they go to a big event, they're going, oh, I'm going to be with people that are going to be the same skill set. There's probably going to be some that are a little better, but I'm going to be racing against people that I normally race against or people with my skill set. So what happens when you drop down? All of a sudden those people have no chance whatsoever because you have a skill set that you should be running in the faster class, but you've dropped down to try and win. So it's frustrating for those people, and then I see people quitting because they're like, okay, I'm never going to be good enough to get good at this class if these people that are, way better than me are dropping into my class when they should be in another class. So let's think about that for a second, okay? If you're dropping down, and you think it's okay to do that, well then what if the pros come and they drop down into stock? You're not gonna have a chance, or if they drop down to 21.5, same thing applies for them. So my feeling has always been, I'm basically like the average like C main driver at big events, maybe C main and mod. I drive mod actually to practice my 40 plus, because I can normally make top of the B into the A main and 40 plus at big events. So I always run mod as a way for me to practice and get the track down and try setup changes for 40 plus. But if I make a C main in mod, I am so excited. I'm more excited than if I make the A main in 40 plus, because I want to put myself up against the best in my category that I normally run and see where I stand. I just don't understand the mentality. Well, I do understand the mentality. You're after hardware. It's not fair for you to do that. And what it does, it's frustrating for the people in the lower classes. They feel like they're never going to have a chance. It's just so that you can have some hardware. And I know this is going to upset some people. I've had some discussions. I've actually been discussing this with a lot of different people. Some people that drop down, some people that don't. And, whenever they come around and actually tell me, well, I want to race with people with my skill set. And I'm like, well, wait. You're actually in with people, your skill set. But there's guys at the big races that are better than me. So because of that, you're dropping down and you're going to do the same thing to the people in the lower class. It makes absolutely no sense. It's hypocrisy, and I just don't understand it. I wish people would quit, because that's probably the thing I get the most complaints about as a track owner, is people sandbagging. And so I've done some things at my track. I have a pro stock class for stock, and then I also have a sportsman class. And I made the rules in sportsman. I decide if you're in sportsman, because that way people, the thing I get is like, well, wait, I'm a true sportsman. I pay for my own stuff. That's fine. But if your skill set is not sportsman, you shouldn't be running sportsman. And then the other thing I want to get into a little bit here, and this is going to I'm probably going to get a lot of hate email from people with this, is the whole sponsorship thing. My feeling is, if there's a sportsman class, if you have any sponsorship, not just chassis, any sponsorship, you should not be running a sports meet, because a true sportsman class are people who are paying for everything themselves with no discounts. And even if you have a low-level sponsorship, you are still sponsored, and therefore you are not a true sportsman. If you want to be a sportsman, don't sign those contracts. And I got into this with somebody actually last night, where they were saying, well, I'm not sponsored. I only have a 10% sponsorship, or whatever it was, 20, I don't remember what it was. They're like, I go, well, did you sign a contract? And they're like, well, I don't know if I did. I go, did you sign a contract? They're like, yeah. I go, then you're sponsored. If you signed a contract, you are a sponsored driver. So therefore, you can no longer race sportsmen. So anyway, so that is my feeling on sandbagging. And it's like I said, as a track owner and doing the RD and running the race program, it's really, really frustrating when I see people do it. And like I said, I kind of understand, but I also don't understand, because I always want to go against the best and see where I stand up. And I know my skill set. You know, you obviously know your skill set too if you're dropping down. So maybe you should actually work harder on your car maintenance and your driving program instead of dropping down to, you know, beat up on people that you should beat up on all the time. Actually work on yourself to get better, to possibly compete in the class you're in, okay? So that is my rant on this subject, and I'll be right back, and I'm going to talk about one other subject that is bothersome to me right now, and I'm sure this one is going to get a lot of email too. Okay, we're back. So the next thing I want to talk about today are sponsorships, what they are, how they affect everything in the industry, how they work, because there's a lot of stuff that most people that, you know, they get their first sponsorship, they're really excited, and they don't realize exactly what it's doing to the industry. And this is nationwide. This isn't just my track. This is nationwide. And, you know, there's been a lot of tracks that have gone out of business here in the last year. I mean, OCRC went out last year. 702 Raceway in Vegas, was it CRCRC, I think was the one in the Midwest went out. There's a lot of tracks going out of business, and I'll tell you what, as a track owner, this is not a business you're going to make a lot of money in. You know, I come from the fashion industry, you know, where I was a fashion photographer for years and years, for like 35 years, and, you know, I made a lot of money at that. This is my semi-retirement, and I'm hoping, you know, at the end of this that I can get the right person in here to take it over, because I'm, you know, I'm 60, so I'm going to be, you know, I don't know how much longer I can do this, maybe 5 years. And then I want somebody else to take it over. So that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to make this thing something that someone can take and roll with it and keep this thing going. So that is the actual object. And the profit margins in this industry are not real great. So with that being said, the sponsorship, let's see, business plan, I guess is what it would be. The way it works is, you know, you're basically, unless you're one of the top guys, you're kind of like a contract customer. And what that means is, let's say, I'm just going to use numbers that probably make, you know, I'm just going to make up numbers. Let's say I have X product that I'm selling, or X brand, okay? And when I buy from them, I get a 50% discount as a reseller. So I can make my profit margin. There's barely, I don't think there's anybody that's 50% profit margin, but anyway, so I'm just using that as a number. So then let's say they can sponsor 20 guys and give them a 10% discount, okay? So who should they sell to? They're making more money on their sponsored guys, and with the sponsorship, you have to run their products, so you have to buy from them. So therefore, it's a valid business plan. I have no problem with a business plan. I think it's very short-sighted, because what it's doing is taking money away from the tracks, and if there are no tracks, there are no racers, and therefore you don't have a company. So I think it's really, really short-sighted to have these huge teams with, you know, 10, 20%, 30% drivers, you know, and some of the companies have just a ton of them. And, you know, for me as a track owner, I look at it and go, okay, if they're doing that, then therefore I'm going to get another manufacturer, their competition's product, and I'm going to bring them in, because they're actually, by not having a huge team, they're supporting the industry. And I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I've talked to people higher ups, way higher than me. I'm like a low-level dude here. So, and they see the problem with that too. So I try to support those companies that support me. as a track owner. And, with you taking that, 10% deal, sure, it's great for you. But the reality is it's not very good for the industry. So I really wish this would change. I wish companies would realize that, it's like I said, it's short-sighted. Who are you going to sell to if there's no tracks to race at? Is there going to be like 3 or 4 tracks in the US that everybody races at? I don't know. Like I said, by the time I'm done with this, it's not really going to affect me. So that's why I decided to do this channel, because I want to be able to talk about things that might be difficult that people aren't talking about. Because the reality is, I got 4 or 5 years left in me in this, and then I can move on. So it's not really going to affect me. But I love this hobby so much. I've done it like most of my life. I did it with my son for about 10 years, I guess. And it was like the best times we have. He still talks about it. He randomly comes in. Now he's got a girlfriend, a job and everything, so he randomly comes in, and it's the best times we've ever had, together. So I love this hobby so much, and that's why I have this track. And I just see certain things in this industry that I go, wow, if they were to change that and actually support the tracks so that the tracks can make an actual living wage, then, the whole hobby is gonna grow from it. So anyway, so that's my thought on, sponsorships. It just seemed, and one of the things I want to point out too, I understand sponsorships from the aspect of, every team has their top drivers, they're like the amazing drivers. Everybody looks, I go, wow, they're fast and they drive that, this and that. I get that. Then there are the drivers that are really good at social media and then there's guys that are just good brand ambassadors, that are the guys of the track that everybody looks up to. So I get that part of it, sponsoring those guys, giving them a little help so that they are going to represent your product well. That part I get. What I don't get is when it's just this blanket, we're sponsoring just about everybody in an area, and we don't care what it does to the tracks and stuff. So we're just going to sponsor all these people. And I have it happen here. There's guys that sponsor. They'll come in and they'll literally look in my shop, go, oh, I want to get those. And then they'll go on their phone and they'll order with their sponsorship. And it's really frustrating for me as a track owner. And so anyway, so that's my rant on that. I'll come back with something a little more positive. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about here in episode 1 is the amazing people that are in this hobby, do this hobby, represent the teams, all this stuff. I come, like I said, I come from the fashion industry, and the thing that was really kind of appalling to me was when I stopped doing photography, the people that were my friends, that I had known for some of these for like 20 years, as soon as I stopped shooting and they couldn't get anything from me, they literally disappeared. I have, from the industry, maybe 2 or 3 people that I'm still friends with. And it just kind of blew me away at, wow, I thought these people were my friends all these years. And the reality was they were not. They were business friends, which is fine too, but they made it seem like we were close friends, and we actually weren't, and it was a little disappointing. One of the things with opening the track that I have noticed and loved is I have some true friends here that will be lifelong friends that I've made in this industry, owning the track, racing with. There are people that I text at night, late at night, call, whatever, hang out with. I mean, I absolutely love the people in this hobby. Everybody's really cool and chill for the most part. You get your maybe 1%, and that, are kind of like iffy, but for the most part, everybody is really cool. And the thing is, at our track, everybody helps each other get faster. That is one of the things that I absolutely love about PDX RC Underground is a new guy will come in, somebody will grab a hold of them, go, hey, let's do this to your car, let's do this, try this line, and then they'll go out and they'll practice together. And everybody's working to make everybody faster instead of just going, well, this is what I do, and I don't want to share that with you. It's like, we got a really good community here, and I'm sure it's like that at almost every other track too. At least I hope it is. Because if you push each other, that's how everybody gets better, and the racing gets better and way more fun. So I just wanted to, give some positive input here, because a lot of this stuff are things that are kind of negative, and I try to not be a negative person. So just want to end up with something positive. I just appreciate all of you that come to my track, support the hobby, all the sponsors, all the vendors that I have. You guys are all awesome. And yeah, so that's it for this week. I'm going to try and do one of these at least every week, if not every 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going to do interviews also, so I hope you enjoyed this. The email you can use for questions or ideas is pdxrcunderground, excuse me, spit that out there, pdxrcunderground@gmail.com. That's what we'll use right now, pdxrcunderground@gmail.com. And I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Just Downside It. Thanks, Kevin, PDXRC Underground. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.
I have it, I wasted. Oh, change your mind.